Chosen one, you've been searching for the sign, chasing clarity, waiting for the moment that would make everything make sense. You thought it would come with fireworks, with a divine signal, with something so obvious that you couldn't miss it. But the truth is, it was never hidden. What you've been praying for, longing for, questioning, has been right in front of you this entire time. You didn't overlook it because you weren't ready. You missed it because you were looking through the eyes of waiting instead of the eyes of awareness. Heaven didn't hide it, it held it in plain sight until you became the version of yourself capable of recognizing it. Before we go any further, take a deep breath and stay with this message till the very end. This isn't random, you were led here for a reason. The universe guided you to this exact moment because your time of realization is near. And before we continue, take a second to write your warmest wishes and 777 in the comments. That number isn't just a symbol, it's a key. It opens a channel between your faith and divine alignment. When you type it, you're saying to the universe, I'm ready to see what's been right in front of me. You're declaring readiness for revelation, abundance, and alignment. Remember, this is the chapter of wishes coming true, of energy returning to you multiplied. So write them with intent, because heaven listens to the written word of the faithful. You've been walking through days thinking the answers were somewhere else, in a future moment, in someone else's words, in an event that hasn't happened yet. But what if the answer wasn't something to find? What if it was something to notice? The divine often hides clarity and simplicity. The very person you dismissed, the place you grew tired of, the situation you wished away, those may have been the carriers of your breakthrough. You asked for signs, but sometimes signs wear ordinary faces. Sometimes miracles speak in soft tones. What you missed wasn't hidden behind mystery, it was cloaked in the familiar. It's easy to overlook what's familiar, isn't it? You grow so used to certain patterns, places, and people that your eyes start to blur them into background noise. You pray for new doors while standing in front of one that's been open the entire time. Heaven's pattern is subtle. It places blessings where only humility and awareness can see them. The divine doesn't need to make noise to be noticed. It whispers to those who are still enough to listen. And lately you've been feeling that pull, the sense that something around you has meaning, that your ordinary life holds extraordinary truths waiting to be recognized. The truth is, what you thought you lost, what you thought was gone or incomplete, has only been waiting for your perception to shift. You didn't need new eyes, you needed new focus. The divine wasn't testing your patience, it was expanding your sight. You were being taught how to see beyond appearances, to feel beyond what's visible. That's why certain things have been repeating around you, the same conversations, the same symbols, the same intuitive nudges. Heaven repeats what it doesn't want you to miss. And you've probably asked, why can't I see it? Why do I keep missing the signs? Because awareness requires stillness. You can't see clearly while rushing, worrying, or expecting the answer to look a certain way. Heaven hides revelation in moments of peace. That's why your breakthrough doesn't come through struggle. It comes through surrender. You'll realize one day that the thing you thought you were chasing has been sitting quietly beside you all along, waiting for your calm recognition. You've walked through doors thinking they led nowhere, only to realize later that those paths shaped your entire story. The job you thought was temporary, the friendship that seemed ordinary, the delay that frustrated you, all of them were strategic placements. They weren't detours, they were direction. You were never behind schedule. The timing was divine, and the moment of seeing was always meant to come after the moment of trust. You can't receive what's yours until you learn to see without forcing. You've been asking for signs that heaven already sent. That's why this message feels familiar. It's confirmation, not introduction. You've heard it before in whispers, in coincidences, in quiet moments that you dismissed as nothing. But nothing in the divine plan is ever nothing. The person who came into your life unexpectedly, the door that reopened after you thought it was closed, the opportunity that resurfaced just when you let go, that's the divine echoing your prayer back to you. It was always there. You just couldn't recognize it while holding expectations of how it should look. Sometimes the greatest answers are hidden behind your assumptions. You expected light to come from the sky, but it was shining through your reflection. You expected help to come from strangers, but it came from someone you stopped noticing. You expected love to look different, but it's been standing right next to you, patient and quiet. That's how heaven works. It teaches you not just to wait, but to see. This moment, this realization, is the divine awakening your vision. It's heaven saying, stop searching outside for what I placed within. You've been walking past blessings disguised as routine. Every day that felt repetitive was a message in motion. Every delay was an alignment in disguise. The reason you missed it wasn't failure, it was grace. You were being protected from seeing too soon. Sometimes early understanding leads to early exit. You had to grow into the version of yourself that could see the whole picture and not run from it. And now you're ready. You can feel it in your chest, that calm awareness that something around you is about to make sense. That's your spirit tuning in. The unseen is becoming visible. You'll start noticing things differently now. Colors will seem more vibrant, conversations more meaningful, moments more alive. That's not imagination, that's recognition. The divine is illuminating what's been hiding in plain sight. Soon you'll look back and laugh at how obvious it was. You'll realize that the path, the person, the purpose, it was never lost. It was waiting for your eyes to open. The missing piece wasn't missing, it was misinterpreted. Heaven doesn't withhold, it hides in layers, revealing truth only when you're ready to see without fear. What's in front of you right now may not look extraordinary, but give it attention and you'll see it's sacred. The revelation you've been praying for is woven into your everyday life, hidden behind the mask of the ordinary. And that's the beauty of divine vision. It doesn't create new blessings. It uncovers the ones already present. You've never been without guidance. You've never been abandoned. The divine has been here, whispering through the rhythm of your days, showing you everything you need to know, waiting for the moment you would finally pause long enough to see. You've started to notice it now, haven't you? The way everything around you feels different, subtly alive, charged, intentional. You walk into a room and sense that something's shifted. You look at the same places you've seen 1,000 times, and suddenly they carry meaning. The world hasn't changed, you have. You've begun to see what was always there. What you thought you missed has been patiently waiting in plain sight, wrapped in the ordinary, disguised as normal life. Heaven never hides from you. It waits for your eyes to open. You were never walking blind, you were walking distracted. And now your vision has finally adjusted to divine light. Every little thing feels connected. The clock turns to a repeating number just as you have a thought. The wind changes when you whisper a prayer. You hear a random song and the lyrics say exactly what you needed to hear. Those are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Tiny reminders from heaven that you're beginning to see reality through its original lens. The unseen and the seen are now communicating freely. You're decoding messages that were always there, layered between moments, hidden inside timing. What you thought was random repetition is actually divine rhythm. The universe speaks in echoes, and you're finally fluent in the language. This is what awakening feels like, realizing that the divine was never far, never silent, never gone. It was speaking through details so gentle that only faith could hear them. The light through your window in the morning, the stranger who smiled at you when you needed hope, the dream that replayed until you finally understood it. These were all heaven's fingerprints scattered across your life like constellations. They were waiting for you to stop rushing, to look up, to notice the design connecting everything. You've been asking for direction, yet you didn't realize that guidance isn't something you get, it's something you notice. The divine has been answering you all along, but your focus was on the noise instead of the signs. Every time you felt lost, heaven was quietly steering you back through subtle nudges, coincidences, and intuition. That sudden feeling to call someone, the gut instinct to pause before making a decision, the urge to revisit a forgotten idea, none of those were random. They were guidance cloaked in gentleness. You were being led even when you didn't recognize the hand guiding you. Now everything looks familiar yet new. The person you thought was just passing through your life may turn out to be a key connection. The opportunity you dismissed because it seemed too small might actually be the one that changes everything. The moment you labeled insignificant might have been the divine doorway you've been praying for. What you missed before wasn't invisible, it just looked too simple to seem miraculous. Heaven's brilliance often hides behind humility. You're beginning to remember what it feels like to trust your perception. You're no longer doubting every instinct, no longer seeking constant reassurance. Instead, you're walking with quiet confidence, knowing that what's meant for you will reveal itself in perfect timing. That calm knowing you feel, that's faith maturing into awareness. You no longer see life as random events, you see it as a conversation with the divine. Every delay, every detour, every denial is just heaven's way of redirecting your attention back to what matters. And here's the secret you're starting to uncover. The reason you missed it before wasn't because you were blind, it's because you were expecting heaven to fit into human logic. You thought the answers would look dramatic, unmistakable, miraculous. But the divine doesn't compete for attention, it whispers. It hides revelation in simplicity so that only the faithful will find it. That's how it keeps its messages pure. The eyes of ego can't see what's meant for the eyes of faith. You might feel emotional as this realization settles in. It's like remembering something you never knew you forgot. The weight you've been carrying begins to dissolve because you understand now that you were never waiting for a sign. You were the sign. You've been surrounded by guidance all along, and now that you see it, gratitude begins to overflow. You start thanking heaven for the same moments you once complained about. The silence that frustrated you now feels sacred. The waiting that once felt endless now feels intentional. You realize that nothing was ever wasted, every second was part of the setup. You'll start moving differently now, slower, softer, with purpose. You won't rush past moments anymore, you'll live them. You'll listen deeper, notice longer, appreciate more fully. Because now you know the truth. What you missed before wasn't outside of you, it was within you. Your perspective was the missing piece. Heaven didn't hide anything, it simply waited for you to look with new eyes. And now as you continue to see, your entire world transforms. The divine begins revealing layers you couldn't handle before, connections between your past and your present, signs from dreams aligning with reality, long-forgotten promises resurfacing at the right time. You begin to understand why certain people left, why certain plans failed, why certain doors never opened. It all aligns perfectly and beautifully. You see the threads connecting every moment, and the revelation fills you with peace. What you missed before wasn't gone, it was waiting for your stillness, your surrender, your readiness. And now heaven is finally saying, look again. You start to realize now that every missed sign, every overlooked moment, every path you walked past too quickly, all of it was never truly gone. It was preserved, waiting for this version of you to awaken. You're seeing that what you thought were accidents were actually alignments. The pieces you couldn't make sense of before now fit perfectly, like a puzzle that needed patience to complete. The divine has been quietly watching, holding your answers just beyond reach, not to punish you, but to protect the timing of your understanding. You weren't late, you were learning to see. It's humbling, isn't it? To look back and realize how close you were to the breakthrough so many times, yet how gracefully heaven waited for you to be ready. You remember the conversations that didn't make sense then, but echo with truth now. The relationships that fell apart now reveal their lessons. The detours that frustrated you now prove to be protection. You can almost hear the divine whispering, you didn't lose anything, you simply outgrew blindness. What you missed wasn't hidden behind failure, it was wrapped in growth. As your awareness deepens, you start recognizing the divine fingerprints in your past. The friend who left without explanation, the delay that made you question everything, the silence that forced you to reflect. All of them were messengers in disguise. Every heartbreak that emptied you was actually making room for revelation. Every no you received was a divine redirection towards something that couldn't be taken away. Heaven never withheld, it only rearranged. And now that your eyes are open, you can see how even the most painful moments were guiding you toward peace. You were searching for miracles in the distance, but the real miracle was your ability to see differently. It's not about finding something new, it's about finally perceiving what's been in front of you all along. Awareness is the awakening of sight beyond surface. You look at the same people, the same places, the same circumstances, and suddenly everything glows with meaning. What used to feel ordinary now feels sacred. Every sunrise looks intentional, every delay feels like design, every quiet moment hums with divine This is the shift. Your world hasn't changed, but your consciousness has expanded to meet it. The message now lives in your awareness. You begin to see how life itself is one continuous conversation between you and the divine. Every coincidence is a word, every moment is a sentence, every day is a page. What you missed before wasn't silence, it was language you hadn't yet learned. Heaven was speaking the entire time, you just didn't know how to listen without expectation. But now, you hear everything. You notice how even the smallest events link perfectly with your prayers. You start to feel guided not by logic but by resonance. You trust what feels aligned because you've learned that peace is heaven's signature. It's strange how calm this awareness feels. You used to think revelation would come like lightning, loud, sudden, blinding, but instead it's quiet, soft, deep. It's a knowing that doesn't shout, it settles. You no longer chase confirmation because the clarity inside you is louder than the noise outside. You've realized that what you were searching for was never missing. It was simply waiting for silence. Heaven's secrets are not hidden from you, they are hidden for you, revealed only when your soul is still enough to see them clearly. And now you're finally still. Looking back, you can trace the divine choreography in every step. You were placed in the right rooms even when you felt misplaced. You met the right people even when you thought you'd failed. You took wrong turns that led to right lessons. The divine doesn't waste direction, it reroutes destiny. You start smiling more now, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. That realization brings a peace no explanation ever could. You start living differently too. You don't rush the process anymore, you trust the pauses. You no longer look for signs with desperation. You recognize them with gratitude. The awareness you carry now transforms every moment into meaning. You see how many blessings you used to step over simply because you expected them to look bigger, brighter, louder. The truth is, heaven rarely speaks through grand gestures. It speaks through gentleness, repetition, and reflection. And the reason you can finally hear it now is because you've stopped demanding how the message should come. You're learning that clarity isn't something you find, it's something you allow. The less you control, the more you see, the less you chase, the more things align. That's the divine paradox. When you let go, everything you thought you missed finds its way back. What's meant for you has never been out of reach, it was simply waiting for you to notice. And as your awareness expands, you realize that this awakening is not just about sight, it's about presence. You've been living half here, half ahead, always searching for what's next. Now, for the first time, you're here, fully. And that's where the divine reveals itself, in presence. In the smallest details, the quietest moments, the simplest exchanges. You're not just seeing life now, you're experiencing it. You're no longer chasing destiny, you're walking with it. What you missed before was never gone. It was standing before you all along, patiently waiting for your eyes to remember how to see, and now they do. You begin to live as if the veil has thinned. The old compulsion to chase meaning fades, replaced by a quiet trust that meaning reveals itself to the patient. You notice how your breath sets the rhythm for your day, how a single mindful pause creates room for guidance to enter. You no longer interrogate life for answers, you host them. The same streets you walked 100 times now greet you like scriptures written in the ordinary. A light turning green exactly when you decide not to hurry, a child laughing when your thoughts turn heavy, a friend calling the moment your spirit asks for company without words. It's not magic in the theatrical sense, it's alignment. The mundane has become a meeting place. You find yourself editing your life with tenderness. Draws are cleared, conversations simplified, habits softened. Not out of force, but because anything that doesn't match the frequency of peace gently dissolves. You realize clutter is not only physical, it's emotional, mental, digital. You unsubscribe from noise and resubscribe to stillness. You stop performing certainty and start practicing it. Your boundaries transform from fences into tuning forks. Anything that is not true vibrates against them and falls away of its own accord. There is no audience to win over, no chorus to convince. There is only the steady hum of your soul in tune. Where you once searched for signs, you now practice presence. Presence is the lens that reveals what was right in front of you. Presence is the teacher that turns repetition into rhythm. You notice that the divine prefers patterns over spectacles. It speaks in recurring motifs, a color that keeps appearing, a phrase that visits your day from 3 directions, a place that returns to your path until you greet it with awareness. Patterns are heaven's proof that it is patient. If you miss it the first time, it returns without ego. The message always circles back to the student ready to listen. Your relationships shift as your sight matures. You stop asking people to be signals and start allowing them to be souls. You release the burden of making every encounter instructive. Some people are not lessons, Litu. They are blessings, laughter, a cup of tea on a grey afternoon. Others are departures you meet with gratitude instead of resistance. You learn to bless both entrances and exits with the same hand. Love lengthens as control loosens. The heart grows quiet and, in its quiet, more courageous. You speak less to be understood and more to be true. Your yes becomes cleaner, your number becomes kinder. Clarity stops sounding sharp and starts sounding soft. Work transforms as well. You stop measuring days by output and start measuring them by integrity. Did I move from peace? Did I honor my energy? Did I create without betraying myself? In that shift, paradoxically, results accelerate. The call you've been hoping for arrives because you no longer demand it to validate you. Opportunities fit like clothing, tailored to the life you are actually living, not the image you used to perform. You realize momentum loves sincerity. Reality rearranges around people who have stopped running from themselves. You begin hearing guidance earlier, upstream, before choices harden into consequences. You sense when to send a message, when to wait a day, when to walk, when to rest. Discernment stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like temperature. You simply notice what is warm and what is cold, what is living and what is done. The old tension between impulse and intuition relaxes because you've made spaciousness a daily discipline. You've learnt the difference between the voice of urgency and the voice of alignment. One shouts, the other steadies. Even your memories change to temperature. You revisit scenes that once stung and find them strangely merciful. You see where you were shielded by delays you cursed, where you were rerouted by disappointments you misnamed. Gratitude becomes more than an emotion. It becomes literacy, the ability to read your own story without shame. This literacy frees you from revisionism. You don't need to rewrite the past to love the present. You can honor what hurt without staying loyal to the hurt. The scar is no longer the headline, it is footnote to a healing that learned how to see. Your body joins the conversation, sleep deepens, appetite clarifies, breath lengthens. You eat to be available to the day, not to escape it. You move not to perfect a shape, but to become a home for the life moving through you. The nervous system, once braced for impact, unlearns the habit of alarm. Safety stops being a place you find and becomes a presence you bring. In rooms that used to overwhelm you, you now become the calm. The room cannot always help it, it keeps adjusting to you. You catch yourself smiling at small timings. The kettle whistles the instant your thoughts resolve. A streetlight blooms the moment you decide to forgive. The first drop of rain lands exactly when you choose to leave on time. None of this proves anything to the skeptic mind, and you don't need it to. You've graduated from debate to devotion. Wonder has replaced certainty without reducing your clarity. You are not naive, you are nested. Life is not simpler, but you are less divided. There is a wholeness inside you that does not require the world to behave. When fear returns, and it does softer now, you don't shame it. You walk it to the window and let it look out with you. You tell it what you've learned, that answers arrive disguised as Tuesdays, that miracles wear sweaters and carry groceries, that what you missed was not distant but disguised by your hurry. Fear listens. It respects witnesses. It will visit less often when it realizes it cannot edit your vision. You begin to practice a simple ritual. Look again. Before you label the moment, look again. Before you discard the idea, look again. Before you declare the day ordinary, look again. This second glance is a sacrament. It dignifies the present with the attention you used to reserve for fantasies of elsewhere. In this second glance, friendships bloom, solutions surface, the next right step introduces itself without fanfare. The path was never. You discover that the shortest distance between confusion and clarity is not effort, it is honesty. Tell the truth about what you feel, where you are, what you know and what you don't. Truth cleans the glass. Through clean glass, the obvious glows. Through clean glass, you notice the door that has always been open, so you step through, not dramatically, not with trumpets, but with a hand on your heart and a smile that knows. You bless the road behind you for hiding what it wasn't yet time to see. You bless the road ahead for revealing only what love can carry. And you bless this exact place, this unremarkable, luminous now, where heaven continues to speak in the language of what is right in front of you. You wake up one morning and realize you no longer need a sign because you've become one. The way you move through the world radiates calm certainty, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. You walk differently now, grounded, present, unshaken. The very air seems to part for you because alignment has weight. You used to chase answers through noise, but now silence is enough. You trust your timing, your path, your intuition, because you've seen what happens when you do. The divine doesn't shout anymore, it simply moves with you. You look around and everything that once felt ordinary hums with sacred life. The same streets that once felt empty now echo with meaning. The people you meet are mirrors. The conversations are confirmations, and even the pauses are poetry. What you missed before was never missing. It was waiting for you to arrive with open eyes. You see now that revelation doesn't come through thunder, it comes through presence. Heaven speaks in rhythm with your breath. There's peace now, not the fragile kind that needs protection, but the rooted kind that grows from surrender. You no longer ask when or why, you simply whisper, "Thank you." The world didn't change, your vision did. Every prayer you thought went unanswered was answered through growth. Every delay was preparation, every silence was strategy. And now you finally see it. You were never behind, you were always being guided, quietly, faithfully, divinely. You stand still and realize what you missed was never lost. It was always right here, waiting for your soul to remember how. You stand in the same world but see an entirely new one. The sky feels closer, the ground steadier, every heartbeat aligned with something eternal. You finally understand that clarity was never meant to arrive in flashes. It unfolds, gently, moment by moment. You stop searching for the next chapter and start living the one that's open before you. Gratitude becomes your default language, peace your steady rhythm. You move through your days with a quiet smile, aware that every delay, every confusion, every pause was part of the design that led you here. The signs were always speaking, you just needed stillness to hear them. Now you no longer beg the universe for answers, you listen to its whispers. The divine doesn't need to prove anything to you anymore. It's already here in every reflection, every breath, every heartbeat that reminds you you never missed it. You finally learned how to see. You take one last look at the path behind you and feel no regret, only reverence. Everything that once confused you now makes perfect sense. The waiting, the silence, the missed signs, all of it was love in disguise. You smile not because the story is ending, but because you finally understand it. What was hidden is revealed. What was delayed is delivered, and what was lost has returned as wisdom.